Hello, welcome, good evening. Episode 28 of Figure It Out. I'm Mikey. That's the Kanan. And with us this week, John, Greg, and Dave Kunitz. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is awesome.
Yeah,
we had a little unexpected situation. Dan couldn't be with us tonight, which is a damn shame. But
Dan shame.
David Kunitz is sitting with us tonight. This is so cool. So cool. Welcome.
Thank you. Apparently Cobra Commander might have had there's some jealousy issues, might have taken Dan out, perhaps.
He's kind of sour, you know.
Yeah. Well, there's Yojo June, but there's not really a Cobra like October. It'd be Cocktober. That's horrible branding.
That can't be it. That can't be it. Oh my goodness.
Hey Cliff. Shannon.
Hi, Mom.
Bitch. Apparently I owe somebody some 6 chili dogs. Interesting.
Oh, dude, you promised Chris chili dogs?
I do the damnedest things that I don't remember. It's probably the dementia setting in. Great.
That's the protein shakes.
Oh, man. And then, okay, by the way, pre-show, John and Greg are talking about pizza, and I'm like, sounds really good. But I am dieting down because I've got a duel at DFW with Blake Tarpley. We're going to have a pose down, so I'm getting shredded. DFW, I'm going to go, I'd say ham, but I'm going to go pizza is what I'm going to do.
Go barbecue. It's way better.
Oh, yeah, barbecue. Dude, everything sounds good right now. Everything sounds good. So, chat, what we're doing tonight, we're going to break from our usual. We're not doing It Came From the Collection. We're not doing GTFO tonight. This is going to be, our first panel show on Figure It Out. So we're going to do questions from the chat. I'll do my best to star them, keep them, super chats, memberships. I'll find a good break in the conversation. I just won't like blam and do it.
No blam.
I'll be feeling that. The Kukoviches are running this show. So basically I'm on autopilot like I usually am.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I can't argue with that, Chris.
You're not wrong.
100% true. Man tells no lies. So,
all right, Mikey, how do you want to do this?
Well, I guess we could just go over basics. I think most people in the chat know about DFW, but let's go over what that show is, Greg. How it started, maybe. Oral beef origins,
which I don't think I've heard, by the way.
Greg's done this enough times the last couple of weeks. You ought to be able to spin it out pretty quick.
Chad warmed him up. I heard.
Yeah. Chad got me warmed up. No, originally the show started back in the 2000s. We were doing the show in Arlington, Texas, which was another town between between Dallas and Fort Worth, and it was called the Great Texas G.I. Joe and Action Figure Expo. And we ran it there for about 4 or 5 years. And then the guy who was running it, he was the money and I was the marketing. He decided he wanted to get out of it. So we made basically he handed it off to the DFW G.I. Joe and Collectors Club, which was one of the few remaining clubs from Brian Savage's days of running the international club. And so in 2012, they restarted it, and it started at a church that we all met at. And we did it for one day, and it did phenomenally. And so then we moved it to in 2013, we moved it to Grapevine, which you guys have been to twice now. And it just started growing and growing and growing. And we were trying new things, and some things were working, some things weren't. And then I came back on board to help them out. And that's when we restructured it about 2022 and brought on Ron, which Ron had been to the show before, Ron and Jenny. And then we also brought in Pixel Dan because I had a friend of mine who was friends with Pixel Dan. And so we kind of wanted to test the waters with those two people. And so we got it back on our feet and then started kicking into high gear. And last year was the 60th anniversary. And as I've told in the story many times before, I'm a fan of both both genres. I was born in 71, so I got the tail end of Adventure Team. But then 82, you know, I got my first figure was Stalker, and I started going from there. And then, you know, I collected the comic books, and I watched the cartoons, and then I went to college and went underground to collect my G.I. Joes. And then when the 12-inch figures came back with Hall of Fame, I started collecting that again, and then shipped it back to Adventure Team. And but last year, again, like I said, it was the 60th anniversary, so we wanted to kind of capture a little bit of everything. So it was Dave's first show with us, with a few of the other guys. Ron came back, Larry Hama came back, and then we brought in Daryl DePriest, who's been involved with Hasbro and been involved with G.I. Joe and Star Wars, and I've known Daryl way back when he wrote a book on G.I. Joe. So he came and did a presentation, and it was amazing because, I mean, it was the 60th anniversary. You got to show some love for G.I. Joe, and so
You would
that's
think
what
so.
we did. Yeah.
Fans, yeah, fans will.
Yeah, shot at Hasbro.
Yeah, yeah. So, and the show was good. I had a fun time. I think Dave got a fun time. He's coming back for year 2, so there must be some good cooking.
Totally bad. It must not have been totally bad. He came back.
Yeah, he came back. You guys are coming back, so we're 3 for 3. So,
But that was my first toy show, Greg, and it was awesome, man. I picked the right one because when that happened, I didn't know about this whole Joe Fest DFW thing, right? And then I thought they were the same show. So I mean, it's chat, and everyone's talking, and I'm like, hey, I bought tickets. You guys are talking like these are different shows. Like, oh yeah, they are. I'm like, well, I'm going to the DFW G.I. Joe and action figure show. They're like, you're going to the right one. I'm like, okay, cool, great, sweet.
What was funny was when Brian was still running the International G.I. Joe Collectors Club, we were doing so much publicity for our show that when his show came along during the summer, it was going to be in Plano. He called me up and he goes, dude, nobody wants to talk to me because they think that you're the International G.I. Joe Collectors Club convention. And so they think I'm just kind of like this wannabe. And so basically we stole all of his G.I. Joe thunder. And the rest is kind of history. So we ended up having to go on TV with him and on the ABC affiliate and help promote his show. And so I remember for that when I was sitting, I don't know if you guys are hockey fans, but I was sitting in the green room with me and Brian Savage and Matt Stevenson, and Mike Madonna was sitting next to us with his wife. And so we're just kind of, I don't know if the Stars. Mike Madonna was kind of like the Wayne Gretzky for the Stars back in the day. So, but yeah, it's kind of funny how people kind of get the shows confused. So, but yeah, Ed's got Joe Fest, all power to him, and then we've got the show in Dallas. So,
yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's been an amazing show just the past 2 years. The growth from 2 years ago to last year was amazing. This one's going to be bananas.
And Mike, I think this ties in from Chris from Cutthroat says, Greg, absolutely. Do you think this DFW will be bigger than last year?
I would say it is because it was at the Grapevine Convention Center last year. This year we've moved to the DFW Airport Marriott, so it's all underneath one roof. And we'll dive into this with Dave and with John and with Mikey. We've expanded into Friday for stuff for workshops that we're going to be doing for people who get the Commander's Package. We're doing more nighttime activity. We're bringing back the Build a Vehicle with Dave and with Greg and with Guy and with Frank. And so we're definitely expanding. Some people keep asking me, they're like, well, do you want to get a bigger venue? And I was like, not really. Eventually within time, I just want to make it a better show and then have it grow from there. So that's the reason why, like I said, we've expanded into Friday. We have activities for Friday night. We have activities for Saturday night. And it's all under one roof. I've always wanted to model it after Brian Savage's shows because I went to his show in 1998 in San Antonio, and I never missed a show. And I've just always enjoyed that camaraderie and that. And I don't know. I know Chad gets mad when I say fellowship and stuff like that, whatever he
Fellowship's okay. Community.
We're all about the community.
Community.
All about
And I'm
it.
good with it.
He hates the term community.
Yeah.
So
You can't
that's
spell
the
communism without community.
So, but that's the whole thing. It's like, I have to give proper credit to Dan Klingensmith, who's not here. Dan's on vacation, so rightfully so, he's enjoying it. But Dan was the person who put me in contact with Dave and put me in contact with Frank. And I already kind of knew Kirk, but put us all in contact with these guys. And Dave can attest, he's been working with them on the panels. Where they've got 3 really great panels coming out for this year. And then we have another panel that Kurt Groen will be talking about, because Kurt has a bit of involvement with Classic Collection, which those G.I. Joe collectors are coming of age now. So I think it's good that we kind of document the history. And that's the same thing. When I first started going to Brian shows, he had Don Levine and he had Sam Spears and Petrucci and all those guys who were like the godfathers of 1960s Joe. And I was so busy being a vendor, I didn't really get to go see these guys. And I really regret it, because these guys have sadly passed. Yeah. And so that's the reason why I kind of want to carry that torch from Brian. And I want to bring, I want to have these guys in. I mean, Dave's a young gun compared to some of these guys. I mean, Ron, how old is Ron, Dave? Is he like 83 or so?
I have no idea his age. He's ageless.
He's ageless. Yeah, I mean, Rudat actually, he has some of his origins with Adventure Team. We jokingly say he's forgotten more than these guys can remember about stuff. And so yeah, he's kind of like the godfather of real American hero. But that's the thing that I've always been about is preserving history and making sure that these guys get the recognition that they're due. And I'm really excited because this year we have 10 guys who worked on the G.I. Joe brand in the 80s and 90s. So I'm pretty stoked about it.
Absolutely. I mean, and you've got 2 guys that are stewards of that information. You've got Dan and Carson that are both going to be there.
Yes.
And both of them do such an incredible job of shedding light on guys like David. I mean, it's amazing stuff. And when you're a kid, you don't care about the names, but when you're an adult and you appreciate, like, wow, like 5 of the vehicles that I absolutely adored, Dave had a hand in. Like, like
getting to know the
cool
guys
now.
and how it happened.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Dan and Carson are definitely stewards of that, and gladfully so, because I mean, I think having things like this cataloged and archived and saved, I think is very important for the future of collecting, especially for G.I. Joe in the 80s, because that to me was like the next big evolution of G.I. Joe. It was such a big impact, culturally on the U.S. It definitely needs to be preserved. So,
Absolutely.
One of the questions I asked, I'm going to mess it up. I know it was Greg Bernston.
Yep.
Okay. I went to that mixer, and then Roll Keeper, shout out to Roll Keeper. We ended up talking to Greg. I felt kind of bad. It just kind of happened. We were sitting there talking to him, and then it was like, I don't know. It was either 45 minutes or it was an hour and a half. We're just talking his ear off. I was like, oh, you know what? I do have a whole bunch of questions for you. And like one of them was like, hey, knowing's half the battle. Who actually came up with that? And we're like, we don't know. I'm like, what? He's like, maybe somebody in marketing. We don't know who actually had that came out with that slogan.
I like to think it was the guy changing the water on the water cooler.
Yeah, he's sitting there
He just
working
like said it weird.
No one's half the battle. Hey, thanks, Bob.
I never knew how to do that. Well, you know what they say, no one's half the battle. I'm like, does anybody say that?
Yeah.
Then that guy went in a meeting and he said it like he thought about it all night.
Like he thought it. Yeah, that's exactly
what I think. Get this.
I mean, I told Greg, I was like, listen, if I knew that was the case, I'd be like, yeah, it was me. I came up with it.
That was my idea.
You're good.
Yeah, just start making T-shirts and walking the showroom floor. You'll probably create a cult of personality around you.
Zakanin doesn't need any more cults of personalities.
How dare you?
So we're going to talk about the DFW show some more, and we've introduced Dave and we've talked about him a little bit, but Dave, I know that your experience was more than just the workshop last year of building vehicles. So do you want to give us a little bit about your history and how you play a part in all this?
Please.
Sure. I mean, I started in G.I. Joe. Well, actually, I started on Transformers, 1984. But almost immediately went over to G.I. Joe primarily, and played with some other toys at the same time. But 84 to 94, G.I. Joe. I was a vehicle guy. We had figure guys. We had vehicle guys. Although we commented on each other's stuff a lot. It was very much a team. So you didn't care if somebody came in and said, "Hey, why don't you try this?" And you did it or you didn't. But yeah, it was you were welcoming comments at that point. It was a lot of fun. It was still a job. There were those times. There were those 80-hour work weeks and to get stuff done.
Deadlines.
But bringing in pizzas and cranking tunes, and it was better than a real job. But that's sort of where I was. My favorite vehicle I worked on and probably worked on it the hardest was Space Shuttle. That was a 80-hour a week, if not more, product because we had to get it out fast. And just about everybody worked on the total product. I got to work on the shuttle part myself, and then everybody jumped in on the gantry and on the rest of it. So a lot of people worked on that one, but the camaraderie on that was major.
What caused that timetable? Why was it a rush? Was there something like marketing?
Yeah,
cartoon.
It was originally pitched when I pitched it. It was just going to be the shuttle and a booster, and it was supposed to be like a $39 product. Steve Reese went home basically the night after I finished my drawing. He said, "Can I borrow this?" And he took my drawing and he made this amazing illustration of the whole gantry system with that rocket coming off of it, and came in the next day and said, "This should be our $100 item, similar to the aircraft carrier.
Yeah,
that we need some kind of flagship to really drive this product line." And everybody said, "Yeah, but there's not enough time to do it." And so Steve, VP at the time, came back to us and said, "Hey, listen, we can do it or we can push it off to next year." And everybody knows that if it's pushed off to next year, it doesn't get done.
Oh, okay.
That everybody's looking at it for a long enough time that they get sick of it and they go, "Oh, this isn't fun anymore." It's like, no kid's seen it, but
while it's fresh with everybody, brainstorming.
Yeah. And we as a design team said, "We can do it." And so we cut it into incredibly short time frame with the promise of comp time for all the time we put in. At the end, I said, I put in my hours, and they looked at it and they said, "Why don't you just take like 2, sick days instead?"
Can they be 80-hour sick days?
Yeah, that was my question. I was told no. But yeah, that's all it went down. But yeah, that was a pain and a blast at the same time.
That's awesome.
You had that sense of rewardment, right? When you got done with it, you're like, okay.
And when it came out, we each got one, and
that's cool.
got to play with it, and yeah,
awesome.
or I might have gotten a couple or 3, but
did you keep them, Dave, or do you still have them? Or
I ended up selling off my last one just a couple of years ago.
Just before the doors disintegrated?
It was still in the shipping crate. So I have no idea what happened to the doors. But yeah, it was still in the shipping crate, but it probably had deteriorated a little bit. It had been in the top of my garage for I don't know how many years. And I said, somebody's got to enjoy this more than it's sitting in the top of my garage.
I was just about to ask why you finally decided to let that go.
I wanted to display it, but there was no way that I was going to get away with that in this house.
Space is the enemy of the collector.
And that's I get some shelves in our living room of my toys and my wife's toys. She's a designer also, a designer / engineer. And then I get this studio that I get to put up a lot of stuff. But yeah, not enough room.
Very cool.
I know that, yeah, he was asking about what other vehicles. I personally, my favorite vehicle you ever designed never made it to the light of day, and we've had many conversations about that. And last year for the workshop, you had brought molds of basically the Starfighter, the Stellar, the Interceptor,
Stellar Stiletto, yeah.
Stellar Stiletto, yeah.
Oh, love that thing.
The Starfighter, I guess, is the repaint, but
yeah,
that is such a great design. And somebody was asking on here, like, what else did you have a part in? I mean, those are my two favorites are those two. So,
let's see. Hold it. First of all, can people see that? Yeah, this is what I shared. Can you see that? Yeah, there we go.
I got your Mikey.
Okay.
Yeah. This is it's small, but this is what we did last year. I just took molds off of the original. Is that going to come up? Let's see. Nope, it's not. Okay. I took molds off the original bucks for the Stellar Stiletto and the Locust, and brought them to the show, and we built stuff out of it. So although this is not the vehicle that it ended, that we did originally, I just made up something, and people came up with some incredibly creative ideas. But yeah, I'm vacuum forming for everybody a mold that they can use.
That is cool.
During the show. So if you join that workshop, you get a casting off some molds, which should be a blast.
it's going to be awesome. That was so much fun last year, just trying to figure out. We had the pieces. You just had to cleanse your mind of what it was originally, and just say okay, this is what I want it to be. I have this one piece now. What can it? There's my piece.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's the two pieces, right? There's the bottom. There was the top. It was just, nothing at all what it looked like, what it turned into.
Right, you can see elements of the original Stellar Stiletto.
Yeah,
it's almost like a Batmobile, and it went into a C mode.
Yeah, it's like a shark if Batman designed it.
Yeah, and Mikey and I had the pleasure of working with George Vega. He took pictures, and then he went to Dave and said well, what should I do with these? And they workshopped it a little bit, and then George did this awesome marker rendering of the two Mikey and I's planes together. And they made one look like an Iron Grenadier plane and one look like Battle Force 2000. It was so cool. I don't think I have a picture of that art here close. Mikey might. George is in the chat. There he is. Yeah. So anybody that's not sure about doing this workshop, even though Mikey and I have a workshop, if I had to pick one, I would do this one. The chance to work with these guys, we're going to have a smaller group this year, so everybody gets to work with them. Mikey and I are going to be there to do support stuff so they can work directly with you guys. It's going to be awesome. And somebody made a comment, I don't know if I could go all night. Dude, none of us can go all night. We're all over 50. Except Mikey.
No.
I mean, he's 20.
I can go all night, buddy. Until my heart stops.
But
well, you're gonna reintroduce carbs. You don't know what you're gonna be able to do.
That's true. He's gonna be coma.
Okay, listen. Challenge accepted.
Okay, great.
This isn't my first rodeo. Okay, pal.
I don't know how bad Blake's gonna beat you into the ground. You could be battered up. I don't know.
You're just giving me fuel.
What?
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. You're a good friend.
I honestly, Zakana, I don't believe you until you sign up for the sign up for the workshop. Once you do
And
that,
to sign up,
hopefully-
by the way, to sign up for the workshop is through a couple of KUKs, or can they do it on the DFW website?
we need to do it on the DFW. Or
Okay.
is it ready
Yeah.
for that, Greg? Is it ready for them to?
Yeah,
sign
yeah,
up?
it's online. You go up to the DFW Joe Show website and then go to tickets, and then they have it where they can sign up for the build a vehicle. They have it where they can sign up for pretty much any type of ticket admission. If they want to do the Commander's package, if they want to do Friday night preview, they can sign up for y'all's workshop on Friday. And it has everything itemized. Here's how much you're paying. This is the service fee and such like that. So. And if not, you can go to our Facebook page. The Facebook page is really the heart of everything. We keep all the information on the website, but the Facebook page is where we're really posting a lot of the images. In fact, after we get done with this tomorrow morning, I'll be posting images of the Austria finished pieces and then George's artwork. I think the two were the only ones who actually took it seriously to build a vehicle and got it to completion. I think some people I think we're just having too much fun talking with everyone else, which is totally fine. But the one thing we did decide, and this was with Dave's input, we scaled it down to 20 people. And so we will have, we'll have Dave, Frank, Guy, and Greg. So that means each one of those guys can almost work one-on-one with 5 people. So you're going to get a lot more hands-on knowledge and training and insight and stuff like that into building the vehicle. And we all compared notes from last year, Dave and John and I, among other people, to kind of say, okay, what worked really good last year? What didn't work last year? What do we need to bring? What don't we need to bring? So we're going to bring the kits like we did last year. And Dave gave me the list of what we need to get. So we'll be getting those kits. And then Dave has been working on the bodies or the shells, per se, I guess you would call them, that he'll be bringing. And then, of course, John and I were talking earlier, and John's been involved in this project because a couple of KUKs, so everybody knows, a couple of KUKs is really heavily involved and is a sponsor for this build a vehicle. And so, John is going to be building the parts that you can add on to it and the other stuff like that, as well as we are working on the decal set. So if you want it to be a G.I. Joe vehicle, you'll have G.I. Joe decals. If you want it to be a Cobra vehicle, you'll have Cobra decals. So
awesome.
It's going to be, the chances of you actually getting done and building a vehicle and not lasting until 3 o'clock in the morning are way greater this year than they were last year.
Yeah,
So,
but we had David and Greg and I had this conversation about, we still want it to feel like you're scratch building something just like you would have in the 80s. But because of the time constraints, we're going to use some 3D printed parts, but the process of building it is going to be the same. So there's going to be a lot of styrene, a lot of MEK. Still going to have a lot of fun with that. Like last year, last year we spent a lot of time like digging through model boxes trying to find the right part. Well, we're just going to have an array of pieces that you can add or use as you want to use. Nothing says that whatever awesomeness Dave comes up with to bring for the bodies, you don't have to build what that was originally intended, just like Mikey and I did. And we ended up doing air vehicles just because that's kind of, we are always building figures and stuff for the ground. So it was awesome for us to build air vehicles, and kind of took us back. And Greg was talking about us being involved this year with so much stuff. And I don't know if I've said this I know Mikey knows this, and I've said this on a couple of our shows, but that experience last year, and I'm old, right? Like I've been doing stuff like this for a long time. And that experience was it had such an effect on me. And part of it was because of George's involvement. And I hope George can be involved this year. I hope he can come in and help bring some of these to life after they do it. But working with Dave, which was like something I've wanted to do like forever, and to get to do that, and meeting Frank and talking to Frank constantly, it was such an experience that on the way home, like Mikey and I just could not help but like, we have got to be more of this show next year. Like we've got to. That was even before we really started deciding what couple of KUKs was going to turn into and what the business model was going to be. But we knew like that was part of it. Like that had to be what we did. So that was just, and I've been a fan my whole life. I'm born the same year as Greg. I've been around G.I. Joe since they came out, action figures in general. But But that experience with all the conventions I've ever been to, that was one of the coolest things I have ever done. So if you're on the fence about it, I'm telling you guys, only 20 people get to do it this year. So jump on. I mean, you're going to go home with a one-of-a-kind G.I. Joe adjacent toy that you made, and it's going to look just like the stuff that Greg and Frank would have presented to say, like, okay, this is kind of my concept. I mean, like, somebody drew this and I drew it, and this is what it would look like in 3 dimensions. You're going to get to do that and take that home and have that on your shelf. And every time you look at it, you're going to remember that experience. And I can't say enough times how much that event meant to me last year. So
Absolutely.
it was incredible. I like going to the dinners and socializing and all that, but actually getting to get my hands dirty and make something, man, that was awesome.
Yeah, Mython and It's Jay Gonzo raved about how great that was.
Yeah.
A lot of people walked away from that saying that they totally enjoyed it. Now, I will preface this for this here. Dave, what was the adhesive you had me order for us to use last year? The glue.
MEK or
Yeah.
super glue.
Yeah. I made the mistake of actually pouring the MEK into the little bottles right before the event. And I didn't realize how strong this stuff was.
I just thought you were already 4 beers deep.
Yeah,
No,
I thought you and Gray had already been hitting the bottle.
No, it was me and a buddy of mine that I've known since '98 in the G.I. Joe community. And dude, I was like Cheech and Chong high as a kite. And I remember I had to open up the doors and walk out because somebody was like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Bro, I'm floating." I mean, I think John was talking to me at some point, and I really don't remember the conversation. So I made promises to people that I would be pouring that MEK outside at my house a week before, because that was a pretty. Yeah, that was some pretty stout stuff. I thought that rubber cement.
The full experience of the '80s if you do that. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you,
I think that's how they came up with their really great ideas was the MEK. That's always what I was doing.
What was testers?
Yeah.
I used to use testers back in the 80s. What was testers? Is that the same stuff?
It's more viscous, but yeah.
Okay, because like, man, testers.
It's good stuff.
It's that Zakanin without the fillers in it to make it thick, and because of that, it's almost an instant weld of ABS.
Okay.
Like ABS just goes right together.
Yeah. They melt together.
But not skin. Skin doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't stick to your skin like super glue does.
Yeah.
It's not cyanacrylate. It's MEK. It is.
Oh my God.
It's good stuff.
Like one of the best tips we got.
Greg's having flashbacks.
I had no idea. Working in fiberglass most of my life, like I'm familiar with acetone and all that. And MEK, another version of MEK is used to strip the wax off of a fiberglass mold. And it is, you're in the hull of a mold and you don't have a respirator on. Yeah, you'll set the afternoon out.
There was a question from
we're around solvents all the time.
too.
So for us, that was like fuel for us. I think that was like, instead of drinking coffee, we just like squirted some more MEK on the table.
Yeah, just do a bump of MEK, you're good to go.
We were good.
And then I think this is Mr. Kunitz. World Made of Cardboard was asking, did you work on Transformers Fortress Maximus?
I didn't. The thing that I was doing for Transformers is at the time in 1984. Remember, that's when it came out. Mostly color studies because we were using existing tooling from Japan, and we were trying to make sure that everybody understood the design language of the good guys and the bad guys. So we were establishing the color for good, the color for bad, and then different design attributes that would be proper for those. We did the same thing with G.I. Joe, where we had to make sure that we had colors for good guys, color for bad guys. You could mess with it, but as we did with Snake Eyes. But
Soundwave, my favorite Transformer of all time, red, white, and blue.
Yeah. You can mess with it, but you had to have a reason to do it. But we tried to stick to it to a degree of what a good guy would be and what a bad guy would be, because kids are very, direct, black and white, good, bad.
Yeah, if
And
you're going to use a different colorway, it's going to have to visually, something about the sculpt is going to have to tell you that's a bad guy.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Black, purple,
try-
green.
yeah, I guess the other question that came up was what else did I do? Piranha, locust, bug. God, I don't remember names, or don't remember the names that were published.
Right.
Because you had like the code name that like the the early version, like, okay,
well,
we're calling it this.
Yeah, we always had our names when we were pitching it, and it always, well, quite often morphed into something else.
Because in marketing, when you get a hold of it and go, okay, it's going to be this.
Yeah, I mean, quite often they would allow us to name, but it generally, even if we were naming it, it started out as something else. And yeah, it was just the way it was. It was fine. The shuttle wouldn't have been called what it was if I had named it.
And then Chris asked me, didn't Transformers...
What was the name for it?
I called it the Phi Star.
Interesting.
It Phi, like the Greek letter.
Yeah.
Because it related to the fraternity I was in college.
No.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Little inside baseball. Okay, cool.
There you go. Actually, if you look on the LCV, low crawl vehicle, you'll see Phi Kappa Tau on the side of it, sort of mixed into the letters. 516, I think, is on that one as well, which was the address of my fraternity.
So those are those really cool Easter eggs that you can get.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Worked in.
My lacrosse number was on a couple of different vehicles. Date of my first date with who ended up being my wife was on one. Her name's on the shuttle.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, lots of that. Lots of those Easter eggs.
That is cool.
But yeah.
Jacob Rail is asking a question for Greg. Are these workshops just an additional cost on top of the general admission commander package prices?
Okay.
Here we go. Spin master, go. Wicka, wicka, wicka.
For Saturday night for the build a vehicle, that is a totally independent thing. You don't have to be a general's package holder. You don't have to be anybody. I mean, in fact, even as long as you go online and purchase the ticket, your pass, anyone can attend the build a vehicle with everybody that we talked about. The one thing that is new, and this might be addressing that, is we added for generals package holders Friday. We're doing 5 workshops on Friday from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock. 4 of them are totally free. You get generals package, you get in to go those. But then the 5th one, which is John and Mikey's, they're doing a build a figure workshop where you'll bring a figure, and you guys recommended it was a Destro.
Yeah, classified Destro.
Classified Destro. You bring a classified Destro figure, preferably a black one, and you have to pay $50, but that's to help offset the cost of all the parts that they're bringing in to accessorize this Destro to make it into the figure that you will learn during the process. And then we've been teasing along, so that's $50. Again, you have to go get that. Just to recap on the commander's package, what is the commander's package? What that does is that gets you in all 3 days. Early bird for Friday night preview, early bird Saturday, early bird Sunday. You get the new T-shirt this year, which is focused on U.S. Navy. So we have shipwreck on one side of the artwork done by George Vega. The other side is the U.S. action sailor from the 60s. Then you get to go to the Friday night meet and greet. You show your commander's package badge. You get in there. Dave and everybody's been invited to attend. I think almost all of them showed up last year. We've extended the invitation to the animated voice people. And then I think it was George. It was either George or Kickley asked me, they're like, well, can we go to it too? I'm like, yeah, you can go to it. So I'm like, I'm not going to kick you out.
Greg,
So,
I got
but
to tell
yeah.
you right now on these shirts, by the way, that you've got for these packages.
Mhm.
Now, that's great. This is cool and everything. No smedium. I'm gonna, figure it out. We got some hard hitting, questions like, where's smedium?
Where's medium?
Yes. If it's not painted on, it's like a bag on me.
Try the ladies' sizes.
What's funny is I'm a big boy. I wear a 3X large tall easily.
Oh, he's
And
flexing over here.
I remember going to Brian Savage's shows. And we're like, Brian, what the hell, man? You're just offering small, medium, larges, and X larges. All of us big boys, we're gonna have to buy 2 shirts, stitch them together, and make a bigger shirt. Because I hate to break it to you, but half your client base are fat guys. And
offer a poncho at the least.
Yeah,
Poncho.
bring in Omar's Tent Company. We can make them for you right there.
Beach towel.
So that's the reason why we have the proliferation. We do medium, we do large, we do X large, we do 2X large, 3X large, and 4X large. And then when Steve, I forget his name, he did all the 3D printing stuff. I special ordered him a 5X because he's a big boy too. So if you want to, man, just get you a medium, throw it in the dryer for about a day, let it shrink a little bit, and it'll.
By the way, I'm sorry to call you out again. That does not work, sir.
Huh?
How about you put holes in it and then
sir.
lace it, and you can cinch it.
All right, we're getting the spin masters in effect here. I'm sorry, guys. That I'm going to say that does not work. We're going to have to move on to the next question. I'm sorry.
Damn, I was going to get you Velcro tabs for your T-shirt next.
Guys, I will say this though: when my first toy show, I rolled in early. Greg's sitting there working at the counter, and I could come up, to get everything. I will kind of tie this into Obby's question about badge and lanyard for DFW. When I come up, and I'm like, "Hey, I appreciate you answer my question." It's Chad, my hard hitting questions from the chat, where I was like, what's a good place to eat? And I couldn't remember what you told me on It's Chad. So then I asked you in person, and you're like, oh, I can't remember the name of the place.
Yeah, I do remember that.
What? I'll figure it out. And you're like, no. And he gets his phone. I'm like, dude, I want to bother you. And you did one of these. You're like, we're okay. It's like 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning. I'll look it up for you. It's okay. I can't remember the name of that Mexican restaurant, which was delicious, by the way.
We've all been there. Dave, did you get taken to that Mexican restaurant last year? We had margaritas and everything. I forget where Gray took you.
I don't know. I had a good time.
It looks like a house that they like renovated.
It's an old house.
No,
and it's an historic. Yeah, it's an historic grapevine, and I knew we had a hit because we took Ron and Jenny there the year before, and Jenny loves margaritas.
They were really good.
Yeah. She was like, "These are great margaritas." She went out of her way to tell me that they were great margaritas. And so, but yeah, anybody who ever asks us about it, we always tell them to go to that restaurant because it's like you said, it's in an old house.
Yep.
In the middle of downtown Grapevine, and it's great. I remember that conversation. That's crazy, man.
Oh yeah, it was great service. But I mean, yeah, I do. I just appreciated that, man. I was like, that's awesome. And that's what it was like. This show just felt, what I want to say here. It just was. It was a community. Like it was. I mean, I made so many friends just like right off the bat. Meeting everyone in my first toy show on 51 years on the planet at that point. And I never, all my best friends and people I take bullets for, they don't give a crap about toys or anything like that. I met a whole bunch of people that were, like you, and they were super enthusiastic. So I was, man, I can't wait for my 1 year anniversary and go to my second DFW.
Well, I'll make sure I'll special order you a medium shirt.
Toddler. Can I get a toddler? Thanks.
Toddler.
Yeah, a child's medium.
And if I remember right, are you do the same thing you did last year, Greg, where like it's actually got the itinerary on the badge?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, I just sent the itinerary back, the new itinerary back to my person, and they're going to change the artwork up for 2025. And it might be a little bit smaller because we added more on Friday, but we did put that code on there so you can scan it with your phone. And then that'll take you to the. Yeah, it had that. It had it there last year, but you can scan it with your phone, and it'll take you to the page where it shows you the entire schedule.
That is
So,
very cool.
Yeah, so if you can't see it with, we're all getting older in our age. If you can't see it with your glasses on, you just scan that, and you can go to a larger screen.
Yep, and just blow it
Yeah,
up.
just let's blow it up. Just blow it up. But yeah, that's the thing that's always been a pet peeve of mine, because I know as a vendor, when I would go to shows, and I would always ask the question, when can we get back in for tomorrow? And nobody would know the answer. So that's the reason why I put it on there. It kind of helps me too, because I can look at it myself and go, I need to be back at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So,
oh yeah, I'm like, what time is that panel? Like, oh wait, crap, it's right here. Sweet,
it's right there. It's right there. So yeah, it keeps us all on our toes, and everybody gets it. I mean, Dave gets it, you get it, Mikey gets it, John gets it, and everybody. So everybody has the same schedule.
Oh, Mega Powers is getting over, so here comes a whole bunch of people.
welcome everyone.
Oh, War Chest will be out there at DFW. That's gonna be awesome, man.
Right.
There you go.
Jay Gonzo again. Like I said, that vehicle class, he said that was amazing. Yep, Tim Taser, Garrison Cavalry, Mega Powers is done.
There it is.
Here we go. That infant size. Thank you, Menchaca toddler.
Yeah. Honestly, if it could be a onesie, that would be capital.
Yeah, I was gonna get it where it had the little snaps right there, so you can put it between your legs and snap it together. So,
well, that way he wouldn't have to tuck it in. It would he'd just pull up his pants and he'd be donezo, like he's ready to go.
just shirt
label on his chest and get out of here.
Yeah, be like you're wearing a man's leotard just for the show.
Yeah,
it's a mantard.
It's a mantard. That doesn't sound right. So,
Mr. Kunitz, I'm sorry. I didn't know if you had any idea if they told you what kind of show this is.
They didn't.
I had no idea.
Yes.
So I'm gonna say, so I don't butcher your last name anymore, Dave, and you can call me Zakanin or whatever you would like. It's not my real name. What's drawing you back? Is it because Greg is got something like blackmail on you for this second show? Yeah, so like,
I know.
Where were you like, hey, I got to do this show again?
Yeah, I mean, you're bringing back a bunch of my buddies from around the country, and I want to hang out. The other thing is, the hanging out with, you guys. It's fun. I mean, we're talking about toys. I mean, what's better than that? And at the vehicle build, I got to, I don't know, sit for hours talking with different guys, just hearing about them and their stories, which was fun. They're battering me with questions, but that's okay too. But yeah, it's hours together, which is, I don't know, it was a blast. And I was drinking beer.
That helps.
So that was fun too.
There was some alcohol.
Yeah, we were we as panelists, I guess, we were taken care of very well, and with people that I like, so that I haven't seen for a very long time. So it's good. It's good. I left Hasbro in '95 after my stint with G.I. Joe, and then went over to Tyco, then went over to Mattel, and then went back to Hasbro, and got to head up. I got to do some more G.I. Joe stuff, which was fun. All the 3 3/4 for Toys R Us when we were bringing it back.
Oh,
and then
I didn't know you worked on that stuff.
I got to play with that too. And then I left it for a while to work on Star Wars and some other brands, Marvel, DC Comics, and then I went back to G.I. Joe as vice president of design, and that job sucks because you don't get to play with toys enough.
Yeah.
But I got to influence a little bit, but barely. But basically what we were doing is bringing back ancient history, because the design was good back then. And, that's what's happening now is they're bringing back some of the good stuff.
And Jay Gonzo, again, is he saying that during that vehicle build had a great time, that you showed him a lot of tricks and tips that he didn't know? Yeah, Gonzo and Mython both in a class just raved about how awesome that class was.
Yeah. Greg, I don't know if you answered the question completely. Yes, that costs extra beyond the behind the what is it? General's pass.
Yes. Yeah, the general's package at 75. To do the build a vehicle, it is $100 because there's a lot more invested into it and a lot more I guess you would say hands-on tricks of the trade.
Right.
What is that?
This is one of the styrene pieces that's gonna be available to you. It's based on the Piranha.
Sweet.
But it could be a air vehicle, could be underwater. It could be anything you want it to be. But this is one of the bodies that's you're going to be able to use. The other one is going to be a ground vehicle based on the Badger. I don't have the shell here. I have some of the molds that are happening.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
So the Badger will be part of it. Here's the mold.
Is that high density foam, Dave, or is that
No, these are MDF.
Okay.
Wow.
These are not last year's were original molds. These I had to recreate.
That's even better. Wow.
Wow, that's awesome.
So yeah, I'm vacuum forming as we speak, and it's taken a ton of time, and you deserve to pay for that.
There was
I agree. I agree.
Plus material costs.
Yeah, commander's package. You're asking Greg, get priority over just regular packages at DFW.
Yes. Well, I mean,
So like at concessions, like you'd be like, I have a commander's package. Like, okay, come get your hot dog. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Well, apparently the most highly sought after commander's package is going to be this medium T-shirt exclusive limited edition, one of a kind. That Zanzibar here is going to be wearing.
Zanzibar. It's gonna be just like this. It's gonna be a white toddler shirt. He's gonna write Zanzibar on it. Here you go, limited edition, one of one.
A white shirt, and he bleaches it on top of it. It says white as it can possibly be.
It's gonna be a T-shirt that says "I collect GoBots." You know, we're gonna really make you check out.
Chad's gonna fight you for it.
I know.
I love making fun of GoBots with Chad.
I know he loves it. No, the key thing is with the commander's package is that it gets you it gets you in Friday, Saturday, and Sunday early bird. I mean, Friday's an early bird as it is. That's kind of like for the people that really want to do some shopping. But it gets them in from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. It gets them in. The commander's package gets you in to meet with Dave and with Kirk and with everybody else. That's from 8 o'clock on Friday. You have to have a commander's package to get into that. And then Saturday, you get in an hour early before anybody. You get the early bird package. Sunday, you get the early bird package. And then, like I said, Friday, you get with the whole new thing that we're adding to it on Friday or the 5 workshops on Friday. That is not for anyone else. That is only for people who get the commander's package. And then finally, like I said, you get your T-shirt. So I mean, $75 is I think is a really good price. I mean, considering you're getting a T-shirt, meet and greet, admission for all 3 days, and then you get to. And the panels are really good. I mean, John and Mikey are doing a 6-inch figure build a figure packing thing. We've got 3 guys who do this phenomenal figure photography, which I think is kind of a dying art, but doing action figure photography. And if you went to the page today, you saw the images. I mean, this is like production studio quality photography that these guys are doing. And then Scott Wild, who I have known for a millennia, he has the knowledge, and he's not getting any younger. And this is the reason why we're doing this. He's passing along the knowledge to those guys who collect 12-inch G.I. Joes on how to repair their talker bodies. These are the original ones from the 70s that you pull the string and they talk. John has that knowledge, and not a lot of people possess that anymore. And then, Scott does. And he's also the muscle body repair. So he's doing that. Reuben Bartram, I used to reenact with Reuben back in the days when I was a member of the Texas Military Historical Society. He disappeared. I ran into him again, and he's been building these beautiful, beautiful dioramas just by using styrofoam. And I'm talking like styrofoam that you get out of a TV box, a TV shipping box.
Yeah.
And he makes these beautiful things. And so I'm trying to find workshops that can appeal to a 3 3/4 inch collector, a 6-inch collector, and a 12-inch collector, because the methodology is the same. The concepts are the same. You're just changing the scale. And then a friend of mine named Chris Wall, I came across him because I also collect Star Wars. He's been very and I know people know how to do this, but a lot of people don't know the details. He does a lot of customized vehicles. He takes a Chat May vehicle, he takes a Leonard vehicle, and he can make the mods to it to where it has the backpacks and stuff on there. And so so we have that. So we have 5 different areas where you can kind of spread the love between all the scales. And it's just it's an added incentive to getting the commander's package. So to recap, fellas, $75 commander's package, $50 to see the lovely Mikey and John, $100 if you want to see Mikey, John, Dave, Greg, Guy, which will be the first time here. This will be the first year Guy's doing the show, and he's super stoked. And then Frank. And then I have a feeling, and Dave can chime in. I think Kirk was even walking around the show, walking around the workshop last year, kind of giving pointers. And Kirk's he's another amazing person that you just get him in there, you just listen to the guy talk. So, but then we just had to incorporate those prices.
His red pen.
His red
He's
pen.
gonna bring his red pen. Just like, no, this design's not gonna work.
That's not gonna work.
I think he'll be on his good behavior for this one. But
all right, okay, all right. He'll save
even,
that for David.
Yeah.
And what was cool was Kurt Groen. I was sitting next to Kurt Groen after I got off my contact high from that stuff, and he was sketching stuff. And then I was even, when I was talking to Kurt, he was telling me on the Storm Shadow he worked with, it was that blue and red and black one, the gray one, and he was telling me about all the wrist gauntlets that he actually. I never even paid attention, and he told me that actually was verbiage and what it meant and everything. And so I was like, hell, I was learning action figure trivia sitting there. So,
yeah,
just
so much
just about all the guys came in at one point or another, either stayed or hung around for a bit. So if you want, face-to-face time, it's a good place to do it. And
yeah, it's definitely.
And you can even tell the designer of the Croc Master for the 3 3/4, Greg, about how that's a dumb figure and you never liked it, because that's what I did, because I didn't know Greg designed Croc Master. And you should have seen his face when I said that. He's like, I did that one. I said, okay, well, I will say this. The classified version of Croc Master, I really love. I love that one.
He was just thinking, he's like, this is the first time I've ever taken shit from an albino.
It came out of nowhere. Yeah. But yeah, Alpha Red's asking, Mikey, what are you and your dad doing for the workshop, the commander's package? Him and his gal want to go to DFW.
Pop, you want to field that one?
Absolutely. All you have to do is tune into our show on Sunday on a couple of KUKs, and we'll show you the whole thing. No, I'm yes, do that, please. So
if you buy the book,
we decided we were going to.
Why my book?
We were going to. I'm going to just show this. This is just part of it. But we are taking a classified Destro, and we are turning it into an astronaut type figure. So every other week we do the couple of KUK show, and each one of those shows, I do like a speed video of how I modeled those parts. We started out, I talked about using an inspiration board and how you just take a few images that you really like, and then you start putting together the pieces you like with what you want to do. And so we started out with the inspiration board, and then each week I model a piece of it or work on a piece of it, or every other week. This week there's gonna be some fairly large contributions, because we are hitting a time frame here. So I spent 2 weeks on the damn gun, so just because I wanted it to look right. Then there's 2 other guns to do. He's going to have gauntlets, he'll have boots, he'll have a belt. The belt will have magnetic pouches where you can just pick which pouches you want to snap on there. And he'll have a really cool backpack. We will print all of the parts for it will be black. The one that we sell at the couple of KUKs booth will not be black. So the ones you get for this are already going to be printed in black, so that we're basically running here. We're going to make this figure as an homage to a Fisher Price figure, but we wanted to do it for classified scale. So this is the
Heck yeah, buddy.
look of it.
It's just Blues of Canaan.
The
if I had any color,
this guy.
That's what it is.
There we go. There's my
Yeah,
boy.
there it is.
This is the guy. If time allows, there will also be a pretty nice accessory that you could purchase outside of our workshop at our booth. But we will offer that. The Spaceman kit will be that. But that's we're gonna have several new kits at the show on Mikey's show on Wednesday nights. He's been painting those kits. One was the Sci-Fi V2 kit. And this week he's working on Dragonsky kit.
Wow.
We're going to call that one the Zukov Zippo kit from a reference in the comic. That is what Dragonsky called his LPO-50 flamethrower. He called it the Zukov Zippo. So that's what. And this is what the Sci-Fi looks like painted up.
No, man, that's so
cool.
clean, Mikey.
That's great.
Nice.
So it was just one of those things. Like, we had done the Action Assault Trooper kit, and we had taken it to a small show here locally, and one of the guys said that the helmet really reminded him of Sci-Fi, and it hit me like, okay, we're gonna do V2 Sci-Fi. So that's what we did. Yeah, this guy right here, it was a version of this. The Assault Trooper kit was our first kit. It was an homage to the Action Man Assault Trooper.
Really like the colors on that one, Mikey.
We've painted one of those up for a gift to the guy that originally drew those figures for the 12-inch line, because the Action Man version was an homage to the Action Force version was an homage to the 12-inch Action Man version.
Right.
So that's what we've been doing on our shows. We've just been on our two shows. We're going back and forth. One showcases what Mikey does, and one showcases what either I do or we do together. And then so that's just how we've been doing the show. Mine, the one that I do is every other Sunday, and his is on Wednesday nights. He has a lot more work to do here and there, whereas mine's just sit down for 8 to 10 hours and make something on the computer screen.
The vehicles lately have really just been zapping my time. I mean,
guys, Mikey loves doing custom vehicles, loves it, craves it.
This thing took so much time.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh, wow.
Do you get the lights working?
Yeah.
Or easy access to the lights, I should say.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then on that
good
project, I
Lord.
couldn't even leave that one alone. So
Yeah, he's doing a cover for the turret.
The turret.
The cover sits too tall on the.
So I had to make this one, and for the tread on the lid here.
Oh, nice.
Little Z's.
The diamond plating.
Yeah, it's little Z Force logos. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And now I'm doing this.
Oh yeah, buddy.
Oh,
I
my
only made
God.
one piece on that, so.
And that's all stenciling, right, Mikey?
Yeah, that's all stencils, and I had to do the stencils. It took me a week just to draw the stencils.
I know that computer works harder than anybody realizes.
Sucks, dude.
Stupid.
I just want to go right into painting and working with my hands. Ugh, brutal.
That's what I
Chris
do too.
had
And then I
a
remember I haven't
question.
modeled the boots yet, so then I go back to that.
Chris got through comments asking David, did you ever work with Bobby Valla at Hasbro?
Absolutely. Good kid. Helped hire him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because he had interned at Hasbro and then left to go to Jax. I forget.
Yeah, I think so. And then I was giving him some pointers when he was starting his own business. He had me come and comment on figures. that was a lot of fun.
Well, you know, tie it back to Greg on the Commander's package too. The early bird pass for my first toy show, that Valaverse panel. Was it I can't remember if it was a half-hour jump, Greg. I can't remember if it was an hour jump. Maybe it was half an hour. Well worth it because that was packed.
It's funny because he came in late, and because we had already had our schedule figured out, and the original schedule was supposed to be Sunday at 11. He was like, "Hey man, is there any way you can fit me in?" And he goes, I want to do it. I want to do this preview." And I was like, "Okay, I can put you in at 10, but that's still when general admission is." I said, "You might need to worry about 10 minutes to kind of let everybody get in." And so yeah, it was asses to elbows. And so this year I put him at 12 o'clock, so we didn't have that problem on Sunday. But yeah, he was on we were doing the podcast with Chad, and he came in and he talked about the new stuff that they're going to be previewing at the show. And then we also talked about the debut of a new show exclusive for the show as well. So I don't even know what it is. In fact, I was just as shocked as everybody sitting in that podcast, because I had just texted him. I was like, "Hey, are you bringing anything?" Because I knew that the tariff whole thing was kind of putting a hurt to us all, and I didn't know if he was going to be able to. But no, he said, "No, man, I'm bringing the heat on this one." So he'll be debuting an all new figure set at the show. So,
oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You paid for my car, my boat, my house.
These deadlines are nothing new to David. He's like, "Oh, it's going to happen."
Hey, listen, I'm happy. I was sweating bullets there for a little bit, because I had every day somebody's like, "What is Valley going to be bringing anything?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. I really don't know." So I leave it up to the creators and the people like Mikey and stuff like that to bring the interesting stuff to the shows. I mean, I'll be bringing some stuff for Cotswald, because I own a toy company too. But as far as promoter goes, we want the vendors, the custom make. I call them custom makers. You guys are full blown factories now, practically. You guys to bring the stuff, because you guys bring the creative stuff. I mean, I've just been totally blown away about I got to throw props to John with Callsign, Longbow, and all these guys taking the O-ring flag and running with it, and just doing an amazing job with it. I'm just flabbergasted. I never thought I'd see the day that people other than Mattel and Hasbro were cranking out action figures. So
true. Nowadays it feels like they're doing the least with them. It feels like the independent guys are just running with it.
Yeah.
Everybody's taking a different niche and just going with it. Like, you guys this year, Patriot Force is going to be there, and their Kickstarter starts this tomorrow, I think, right?
Yeah, it starts tomorrow, and it's just like, man, they were. Yeah, it's really, especially because they're working with the guys that actually were in, playing in the dirt out there in Afghanistan and Iraq and stuff like that.
The real American heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
One thing I did want to
father-son team, which is cool.
Yeah. I did want to throw this in here, and Dave's been part of the conversation too as well. One of the things we were doing, and I can't remember, it was with one of the Zoom meetings we were having with Dan and Dave and Kirk and everybody else. We started last year. We do a charity. We pick a charity every year, and up till recently, with the charity, it had been the Shriners, because they help kids. And last year we made a decision that we wanted to do the charity, which was the first Lieutenant Robert Welch III Charity Foundation. And we voted for it last year, that we give a portion of our proceeds to that, at the door. And people who don't know who he is, the president of our club is Bob Welch, Robert Welch II. And I've known Bob forever. He was a member of the club, then he became president of the club. And Robert Welch III, we knew him as Robbie. He used to come to the meetings as a younger guy. And then, he graduated, went into the military and joined the U.S. Army. And then he died in combat in Afghanistan. And so his widow has set up this charity foundation. They do a once a year 5K fun run for a fundraiser. But one of the guys, and I can't remember who it was, within the GI Joe group said, why don't we do an auction? Why don't we do like a silent auction? So one of the things, this is a brand new thing that we're doing this year. We're going to have a room dedicated to a silent auction, and some of the guys from the GI Joe, from the GI Joe Legends team, they're going to be donating some items. I talked to Kurt Groen. He, I don't know if you guys are familiar with cornhole. You know what cornhole is?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a sexual joke. It's a legit thing.
It's both, by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah. But in the South, it's the thing. So he's gonna be doing. He just got my address, and he's gonna be shipping a cornhole set to us. That's gonna have exclusive bags to it, bean bags, and then all the guys are gonna sign it. And then, Dave, did you think that you're gonna try to carve something, or did you change your mind on that?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna create something.
Okay. So every guy wants to kind of bring something to it, and then Dan is going to be donating the first 5 volumes of his 15-book series. I've reached out to Carson. I've also reached out to different other manufacturers, and I've got 3-0 does some beautiful 1/6 scale figures, and so we're going to bring those in and get those autographs. So we're going to set up this entire silent auction area where people can bid throughout the weekend. And then whoever wins pays, and they get to go home with whatever this item is. And these are items that are just like, you just don't go to the toy store and buy it, like toy stores exist anymore. And all the money that we raise from that, is going to go to the Lieutenant Robert Welch III Charity Foundation. So this is something new we're doing, and I was really impressed that the G.I. Joe Hasbro guys came up with that idea, and I'm glad we're following through with it, because I think it's going to be a really good thing, and it goes to a really good cause, because I saw this kid grew up. I saw him playing with G.I. Joes. In fact, if you read the biography on it, his first figure he ever got was a Duke figure from the 80s. So he got Duke, and then he went on to join the military. So
that's cool when you hear those kind of stories.
Yeah. So that's a new addition. We haven't really publicized it yet or published it on the website.
I was looking on the website trying to find it.
It's not there. We're like I said, I talked to Dan today. Bob Swanson's going to be donating some stuff. I know Guy was asking me more details, Guy Cassidy. And then I reached out to Carson and some other people. Because some people like stuff that has autographs on it. So I think we'll have a Storm Shadow action figure from 3-0 that Keone Young will autograph,
Sure,
and stuff like that. So
that's the voice actor, correct?
Yes, he is the voice actor of Storm Shadow. Yeah.
Because was that on Facebook today where he announced that he was going to be coming?
He actually announced it. We posted it last Friday. He did a promo, about a 30-second promo, actually about a minute promo, and Facebook analytics just went nuts over it. And then we announced Lisa Raggio, who did the voice of Zorana, and people went nuts over that. And it's hilarious because, we announced Michael Charles Hill, who created Cold Slither, and we've been talking with Michael since last year. And then Zach Hoffman, who does the voice of Zartan, he came on board. And then the whole Cold Slither thing just exploded after we had announced it. So it was purely coincidental that we had those people coming on board to do the show.
Just serendipity. It just kind of happened.
It just happened. I mean, the gods were smiling down upon us that day. So
he's only been back into it for what, 2 years? That only required 2 years ago was like
AR. He was that they did the cool.
So very serendipitous, truly.
He was so excited that people even knew who he was. He was just like, I didn't even know you guys. Anybody cared.
Right.
That's the funny thing about it, is because I talked to he and I been talking since last year, and he was just totally blown away about this whole culture of collectors and stuff like that. And it was like Frank, I didn't even know Frank, I didn't even know Frank lived an hour away from me, and And when he and I talk all the time, he's just like he just can't believe the collector base has, you know. But I told him, you know, I mean, and Dave can chime in. It's a phenomenon, you know. It's you know. I mean, when I think of Hasbro, I think of two things: Mr. Potato Head and G.I. Joe. You know, so
Transformers.
No,
man.
I mean, when we were working on it, there's no way we ever thought any of this would ever happen. It was creating stuff for kids and having fun doing it. That was it. That it has captured the imagination throughout time like this. It's amazing.
The thing with it was, okay, sure, it's propaganda, okay, cartoon, the toy, the comic, everything linked together, right? I get it. I know it's propaganda. It's marketing. I don't care because it was so well done. When I saw that first cartoon with I'm gonna mess this name up so bad, with Snow Job. I got a story about Snow Job for you. But seeing that comic book with a toy, I was like, whoa, there's a comic. When I saw that commercial for that comic, that's what started me collecting comics. So I went out. My parents were like, yes, you can go to the gas station, right? You can go get your comic. I'm like, yeah. So I ran down there. They had it. I got some back issues. I want to say that was like issue 11, I want to say. I picked that up, and I picked up like Hulk 281 or something like that. And that kind of started me on my comic book journey. But everything just tied itself in together. When I see today's marketing, I'm like, you guys are just like, you don't have all the pieces of the puzzle working together. It blows me away. It was so simple back then.
It was a simpler time too, in that you didn't have as many puzzle pieces being thrown up in the air in terms of eyeballs. You had TV. Yeah. And as you said, you saw the commercial for it. Now, where do you put the commercial? I don't know.
That's one of those things. You have to do promotions. You have to do shorts. You have to do reels. You know, that's basically the new commercials. I mean, I don't watch commercials on TV. I got rid of TV a long time ago. But now with social media, this is it. These are your commercials right
of
here.
Course. Yeah. If you can get to enough eyeballs.
You got to get the algorithm. You got to learn that. I mean, that's the thing. And then it's children. But again, kids, it blows my mind that, 5 and 6-year-olds have like working cell phones. Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely, living in different times.
Yeah, we're not exactly supposed to target them on those devices though.
Well, judging from their live streams, I don't think they know who they're supposed to be targeting regardless. Whatever.
Oh, you know what? Actually, thinking about Cold Slither, thinking about cosplay, I'm considering doing some cosplay. YouTube, this is not a real gun. This is a fake. This is a plastic gun. This does not work. Okay.
Banned.
It's cool though. It's neat. It looks like Colt 45. So, do you know the rules, Greg, as far as cosplay for DFW? I ain't seen anything.
You can just walk in with guns in Texas. You don't have
to.
No.
People are going to look at you weird if you're not carrying anyway.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought
if they say anything, you tell them it's for the Alamo.
Yeah, I'm asking because your war chest, dressing up like Storm Shadow and doing ninja bear hugs and whatnot. I was curious about that because I have run in conventions where like, we got to make sure this thing doesn't work and we're going to put a tag on it and we have to authorize that.
We in the past, we've actually had World War II reenactors, and then we actually had like a living history thing where these guys brought some beautiful items from the Vietnam War. And like the weapons, like the M16s and stuff, we had to put zip ties in there to make sure that, that the receiver, was not going to be able to cycle through. I would, if you want to, I know that we're going to have the Fighting 7088 at the event, and we're also going to have the 20th Rough Riders, which the 20th Rough Riders are they're part of the Finest.
The Finest, okay.
Yeah, so if you know anybody at them, you might want to ask them. I know that with Swords, we've been kind of like, hey, keep it sheathed or whatever like that. We don't want to. Because here's the thing, like I said about Texas, yeah, people do have guns. You just don't know who does. So, and we just don't want to have an incident. So that was so everybody's carrying guns. I'm like, yeah, but yeah.
You do need to get your fix though. Like just down the road, there's that really sweet shooting range where you can.
There is that indoor shooting range that literally was like a walking distance away from the Hilton Garden Inn.
Oh, really?
You can fire saws and MG42s, everything you could think of.
Uzis, yeah, Mac 10s, yeah.
Come on, Uzis and Mac 10s, and then Yo Joe Jerk Papa Jerk shows up. Shout out to Mega Powers tonight, man. They hit over 300 viewers. This guy wiped his shelf off of toys. He just threw it to the ground. Gaines tried calling his high school.
He's probably been picking all that crap up.
What have I done? Oh no.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, thanks. I was wondering about that. It's like, I've got, Nerf grenades, just stuff, just random.
I mean, Chad's part of the finest. You could probably ask him what the general rules are.
There's general rules, but shows that I've been to, they're different. Kansas City for like Planet Comic-Con, you're supposed to go through, check, do all this stuff, and then I didn't do any of that. I just walked in and had a gigantic cable Nerf gun for my cable cosplay and whatever.
No,
fully
functional. It looked like Leafield drew it. Nobody has to worry about it functioning.
I would just probably go over to the finest or in the 7088 table and just say, hey guys, this is my scenario. Can you just check me and make sure I'm kosher? And
I gotcha. I'm not going to do that, Greg. I'm just going to act like I know what I'm doing. That's what I usually do. I usually wing it anyway. But this is for our audience, so I appreciate it.
This is for everybody else.
You're gonna
follow rules.
You're gonna wear your medium button up crotch underwear shirt.
Well, I'll tell you now, if I'm going to do a dreadnought, I'm probably just going to go with a vest and maybe a jock strap and call it good. It's done.
I was gonna go 1 year as gung ho the later years, where
years.
I wish you'd do Gone Fishing Bazooka, Greg. That's what I wish you would do.
Dude, there was a guy that was at one of Brian's shows that he went as Bazooka, and his helmet was like 3 sizes too small. I mean, it was
no.
Just
yeah. It was like it just if he sneezed, it went like that.
Greg, like the remember the Dairy Queen? Do you have like the baseball caps, right, with the ice cream?
Yeah,
like your sports team. It was like that.
That's what it was.
Yeah, it was. I was like, oh, God would have mercy on the soul if he burps or farts or sneezes with that thing on his head.
Yeah,
nothing
snap it right down the middle.
This is what I want to know. You guys get asked these questions. I'm sure I don't know this. It'll be brand new to me. David, who is your favorite G.I. Joe? I mean, is that a tough question for you, or you're like, no?
Ozone.
No, it's not.
Skid Mark.
I wish it. Skid Mark. Yeah, that would be good. No, it's Snake Eyes, man.
See, okay, we're best friends. All right, right on. Okay, it's obvious.
I would like to not say that, but what's better?
That's why I love him. Like, oh, that's so cliche. Or it's because he's the best in G.I. Joe. Because that was my first. I think Greg said he was Stalker. I went to TJ&Y, a little local shop down here, store, and I bought Stalker and I bought Snake Eyes. I was like, man, these are awesome. How could you not love? And this is before you knew the lore, right? You're reading the file card. And then everything with the comics and the cartoon comes out, and you're like, "Oh man, this is awesome!"
Yeah.
So, Greg, who's yours, Greg? Also, Snake Eyes. Sweet. Okay.
I have an affinity. I mean, I try to. Mine's a toss up between 4 because if I find it any of them, any scale, I try to buy them, and it's Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, Firefly, and Grunt.
Really? That's interesting. Robert Graves,
and it's because he was the artwork that pretty well launched it. I mean, Snake Eyes for me, it was like he was like my 3rd or 4th that I got, and the main reason I liked him is because he came with an Uzi. And I mean, if you watched any shows back in the 80s, any of the action shows, I mean, Uzis were like, that was the
Punisher, that comic book run at that time.
Yeah.
His mini-series came out, and he had that iconic Uzi. Oh man,
Sure.
yeah,
Plus,
Uzi.
plus with a masked good guy, it could be anyone under the mask, right? So
True.
it's not like they had an albino figure. So of course the Kanan's going to pick Snake Eyes because you don't see the color of his skin.
Also, I was tan back then too, which is weird. I know. Imagine that, right?
Well, yeah, you're sun bleached now.
But no, I mean that's
I'm the
why I think
opposite,
so many
Mikey.
people related to Snake Eyes in that first few waves because we didn't have, the cartoon never really explored it, and the comic was still gearing up to tell us what he looked like under the mask. So it was the perfect figure for if there wasn't in the really good representation we had of those original figures, Snake Eyes could have been anybody under them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right, John. No one had any idea until they showed, what the helicopter deal where he saved
where the
Scarlet,
origin story.
Yeah.
We went 2 years. We went to issue 26 before we even knew that. So, I mean, all we knew was that he didn't look good. We saw the back of his head, and how horribly disfigured he was. But even if you didn't know that, Snake Eyes was the perfect self-insert for you to be on the Joe team.
Yeah, and we were hearing that from kids early on. That kids of all makes and sizes were saying, well, that's me, because the kids when they played, they go, that's it's me playing.
Yeah,
It wasn't, I'm playing with a figure.
You became that figure. Yeah,
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
That was the easiest one for every kid. Whether it was the kid that's getting picked on or kid of color, whatever. He could be Snake Eyes, and he was a badass. And he killed people.
Certified.
100%. Oh, I could tell you my snow job story was I couldn't wait to get a couple of new action figures. And I swear to God, this sounds like it's made up, but there was Blowtorch and there was Snow Job. So I ran up to my father. I was like, we got to go to Kmart. We got to go to TJ&Y. Like, why? What we got to, I got to go get the new action figure, new G.I. Joe action figure. I got to go get him. What? I'm sorry. A G.I. Joe action figure? What do you want this time? I got to get a blowjob. I got to get a blowjob, Dad. He's like, what? A blowjob. Snow job and blowjob. I didn't know what that was. I just know I messed the name up.
Whoops.
Now.
I know. I learned later.
It wasn't the last time he ran into a
They
real
figured it out. They were halfway to the truck stop by the time they had decoded what he was saying.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go
My
back.
father's trying to decide whether to punish me, whether to laugh, do
Well, you can get that at Kmart? What are you saying?
My father has this perplexed look on his face. He must be a big G.I. Joe fan too. I'm so embarrassed that I messed this name up.
He's like, they don't even have that at Kmart, you idiot.
That's South Broadway. That's further down from TG&Y. God,
that's the wrong side of Wichita. You
brought shame and dishonor to your family again.
Yeah.
Oh, I like you already.
Yeah,
you'll get two. You get two medium T-shirts.
Yeah.
One for Saturday and one for Sunday.
Oh, actually, David, from work on Transformers and then G.I. Joe, were you involved? I remember when the comics crossed over and they did, Transformers with Marvel, but with G.I. Joe and Transformers, was there anything where you were involved or like, man, this will be a great mesh?
I know we talked about it. And they were definitely playing together on my shelf.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But and we knew kids were playing with them together too. But the marketing really wanted to keep them separate for the longest time.
Man.
Those
really?
guys, well, absolutely. I mean, you create your brand and you create your story. If you mix them and one of them fails, you're done.
Yeah.
So if they're both being successful, why mess with it?
Yeah, I get that. But man, good Lord. I mean, Cobra Commander with Megatron in hand. God bless.
Yeah, but the scales would be really jacked up though. It'd be like
well, again, as well, when Dave was talking about it, I didn't care. I mean, I was mixing my Transformers in, man. And now the new comic that Skybound, that shared Energon universe with Joe and Transformers, nuts, bless you. It is crazy. And then seeing like, so one of my top, I'm going to say top 5, like Stalker, Snake Eyes, Clutch, easily in my top 3. I love Clutch, and seeing Clutch with Hound on Transformers.
That was the first issue I picked up. I saw that was a free comic book day, and I was like, "Come on now, Clutch is on the cover. Let's freaking go.
Let's go." David, what was your favorite as far as like Transformers? Was there a certain project in Transformers where you're like, man, that's my baby. I loved working on that project.
Most of it I forget. Seeing I was just doing sort of color studies, we didn't really put names against them at the time. There was a motorcycle that I'd worked on. It never hit the shelves, and that was my favorite.
You don't have any pictures or anything of that, do you?
I have a sketch of it somewhere.
I'd love to see that sometime. Like I didn't like GoBot, so like GoBot Psykill, I liked the idea of the GoBot Psykill. And I think there was a Japanese model kit that came out around that time where the rider and the bike ended up like a mech suit version of Psykill. I'm like, that's what I want right there. That's
what Robotech with the
that's Macross
becomes
Oh, was it Macross with a bike?
It's Macross. Yeah, it was the bike merged with the guy.
It's in the second series, I think. The first series was mostly about the space fighting.
All the jets and everything.
Las Piatas.
Yeah, because I can remember going to Toys R Us and they had the bike and the driver, and it was just made by some company that was importing them in from Japan, because that's what they were doing. They were just importing anything and everything at that point. And then finally, then somebody finally got the Robotech. They took the whole Macross saga and changed it to Robotech. And then I think, Matchbox got it. And then they brought it back again, and they just slapped another thing on it.
I love how you say Macross, by the way, and then Suka pops up. Shout out to Suka, man.
Well, what's interesting is, what Dave was talking about, the early ons with Transformers is, like you said, most of the stuff was already made. It was made by Takara, and so when they were bringing them in, like you said, they were doing color studies to make sure that they fit right over here and over here. But I've got that affinity for that, because I studied the whole thing between G.I. Joe begat the Transformers, begat G.I. Joe. The whole Microman, and all like that. So. In fact, somebody asked a question about the little men that were in the early vehicles. Those little silver men that were supposed to be there.
Yeah. Some of the better vehicles that I was playing with at the time were Bandai that didn't end up being made either. Because we weren't just looking at Takara, we were looking at several different Japanese toy companies, and the Bandai stuff was awesome, but we didn't make a deal with them to do those vehicles, so it's disappointing.
Oh yeah, I remember getting. I didn't know it was Grimlock. Oh my god, I can't. Toys by Roy. This little locally. I don't want to say it was local. I don't think it was a franchise that I remember. It was okay, because I remember that being in the mall, and I went in, and they had almost like this import section. I didn't know what imports were. And then there was this, transforming T-Rex. Like, whoa, this is amazing. And then I don't know how long later the cartoon comes out, and here's Grimlock. I'm like, oh, Grimlock. Well, that's an awesome name. Me, Grimlock. I'm like, no, my dinosaur doesn't talk like that. That's stupid. What are you doing?
Bob.
And by the way, Dave is about to go, I came up with that.
Yeah, that was me.
That was the one
That would
thing
be so great.
That's what came out in my Transformers world.
Damn it, it's Crocmaster all over again with Greg. Oh my god, I did it.
That was his favorite contribution that made it past the drafting table.
That's it.
It was actually my grandfather did the voiceover for it. Rest in peace. He was the biggest inspiration for what got me into toys, and he became Grimlock. Oh
yeah.
Shit.
If you take like the letters from Grimlock, you move it around, it says Dave Kunitz. So.
That's it.
You should just turn it sideways, and that's how it reads.
Right, right. Way to go, man. Shot yourself in the foot twice.
You boob.
Yeah, the design, marketing, production team, G.I. Joe, they're big fans of this guy.
Yeah, really. You show up for the Friday night meet and greet, everybody's gonna whisper, "Don't talk to that guy."
Oh no.
He just the room parts.
Yeah.
Ugh.
He's
Greg-
the Grimlock killer.
Greg walks by.
You're
You're getting one shirt. You're getting one shirt only now.
Give me back my shirt.
You're
Give me
getting your
give me your
medium.
commander's badge. Here's your refund. Get out of here.
Gonna be just like the beginning of Branded with Chuck Connors.
Oh man, I'm thinking about the rifleman. Greg, so what's the biggest challenge for putting one of these shows together? Like, what's the biggest, I don't know, challenge, or the biggest difficulty that you've got?
It's the mental toll. Greg's only 32 years old.
Oh wow, yikes!
Just drained him.
I had flowing hair until 3 years ago. I look like Cold Slither's Artan. No,
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
not really. It was just part of it was just getting the DFW G.I. Joe Collectors Club on board with the concept of doing a show that that kind of mirrored what I wanted to do, and because I had tried years before. I had Buzz Dixon years before, who was one of the producers for the cartoon series, and then like I said, I had Larry Hama, which I read all the comic books. I had 1 through 155, and I had European missions and all those other special missions.
Yeah, special missions.
And then I had Ron, but it just never did click right. And I'd left for a while, and I went off and I did a show in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, near Hershey, because I have family that lives there, and I did really good. But it just didn't feel the same. Dallas, I've lived here almost all my life, and so I went back to them and I was like, "Listen, I want you to give me 3 years to do the show." And I said, because they were kind of like throwing their hands up in the air. They didn't know, they were frustrated too. And I was like, "Give me 3 years and let me do it the way I want to do it, and just let me, just trust me." And so that was part of the hardest part of it, was just convincing people that it was worth it, because the club was kind of going into, do we change it into an action figure show? Do we change it into a vintage toy show, whatever? And I said, no, I think there's still enough people out there. But the thing that I wanted to do to convince them was, there's enough of a base of 12-inch collectors and 3 3/4-inch collectors that I think that this show can do good. Because Brian was doing a show. He was initially forever it was a 12-inch show. Then it kind of shifting towards 3 3/4-inch, and then Joe Lanta kind of took over the torch, and then Ed was kind of doing his thing with 3 3/4-inch with Joe Fest. But I wanted to have both of them together, because I think that people kind of joke, 12-inch collectors don't like 3 3/4-inch collectors. We're all in the same boat together. We're all kind of like out there in the ocean, just kind of floating around, trying to find a camaraderie or finding a common ground. And so I guess that was the biggest thing. Yeah, I mean, getting Dave and everybody else together, and getting the airline reservations and the hotel rooms booked, and then working on the panels and the workshops, and coordination in the hotel and all that jazz. That's a lot of time saving, but just getting that first step, 4 years ago, to kind of move it into this new direction, that was the biggest hurdle for me. And I'm glad it's finally falling into place, because, like I said, I mean, the last show, what was it for JoeCon? That was kind of like the last big show, and I wanted to get back to that feeling. And I know we family, community, collector base, whatever you want to call it. I just want it to be that place where everybody can come together, enjoy a great show, get some toys, hang out with your friends that you haven't seen for the year before, learn some new things from workshops, go see these panels and learn something new. and just have a great experience. And that, I guess that's the whole thing, is I wanted to create the experience for a show. And, that was the biggest hurdle to get it done. Yeah, once this show is over, you won't hear from me for 2 weeks. I'll probably be in a fetal position, sucking on a Michelob Ultra. Yeah, I'll be sucking on a little Michelob Ultra bottle, just
actually,
going,
Greg, this is a good question. I mean, Hasbro, have you reached out to Hasbro about doing something with the show? Legally, can you talk about this?
I talked to Dan about it, and it's just because of the current
Convenient.
Yeah.
Very convenient that it glitched on you there, Greg.
Okay, I was wondering if I was having another stroke. I was like, oh no.
No.
You might have been, but
I guess it's not mutually exclusive. I could actually have my second.
there's
third.
proof that Big Brother is watching right there.
No, to answer the question, I think that the climate at Hasbro right now, I don't think would be conducive towards it. I've talked to Dan about it a few times, about do we invite him? But the vibe that I get is like, they want the current people that are working there. They want to do the San Diego Comic-Cons, and they want to do those types of things, and they really. The last time that they did it, I think it was when Daryl was running the show, and that's when when they were coming and doing Brian's show. But I think shows, I think shows like ours and shows like Ed's and stuff like that, I don't even know if they're on their radar, to be honest with you. And that that's fine. It's like we've talked about before. Hasbro right now is in the business of licensing stuff out to people and letting other people do it, which is fine. But I've always said this, especially being a 12-inch collector, it's the fans that keep that fire alive, that keep that torch burning for G.I. Joe. And we've had dark times before. I mean, we had a period of time when there wasn't a single 12-inch figure. You guys are experiencing a little bit of it, that you're not seeing 3 3/4-inch figures at the shops and stuff like that. So it's up to us to keep that. We've kept the torch going before, and we'll keep it going again. So I don't know if we need. I don't think that they just.
You don't think they'd add anything to the show?
Yeah. I don't think that they would. I mean, to be honest with you, I would rather have a Dave Kunitz and a Daryl DePriest than I would want one of those guys up there, because to me, and I'm not getting on the bash classified stuff, but a lot of the stuff that's classified is just basically a different scale for something that was created back in the 80s,
I get it. I mean, but for me, when I got into collecting, or back into it basically, was I saw classified and I was like, holy cow, this is great. So,
it's great. And don't get me wrong, it is great. It is great. But
I get it from somebody who had all the original Joes, and I was like, oh wow, look at all the detail. Now again, I didn't know the modern construction Joes that had come later after I stopped. I stopped probably, I graduated in 91, so probably that was probably about the time I stopped getting the O-ring Joes. It was probably around then.
Yeah, it's about the same time for me. Yeah.
Because again, they're made for kids, so now there's large guns that shoot things, and I'm like, I don't need any of that.
Well, I just don't think that right now there would be any benefit to Hasbro doing that. In the heyday of O-rings and stuff like that, there were, when they were doing the cons, they had a support system, they had, the FSS figures, they had all of that going on, but all of that was just done by a small group of people at Hasbro. And I think Hasbro's cut back so much that there's not like a bunch of extra people that are so passionate about a brand that they would be like, hey, I'll run this if you let me. There's just nobody there. I mean, you see that in the podcast that they do, when they introduce stuff, it's a very limited people that are even working on that project that really have passion for that line. They're just doing their job to do the line, You know, so
because
and
you can't do
Greg
that,
said,
John. You can't fake passion. Like you can tell when someone's passionate about. When I'm talking to Greg at that mixer, Greg was passionate about what he had done.
And then watch
can I jump in on that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I still, talk to the designers and stuff there. They are incredibly passionate. They're incredibly talented. They would love to be here. They're not going to pay on their own, and they're not allowed to, go basically and talk unless they're told they can. They would love.
That's what I mean. Like, there's not
Well,
like
you're talking about
the
spokespeople
right.
marketing for it.
Yeah, it's lean there, and their focus is not necessarily kids anymore.
Yeah, correct.
They're creating things for people that have a little bit more money, and it's not necessarily play, it's display.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is their market, and they should be going after it, but they don't have the personnel or the money, or don't want to spend the money to do it. They're out licensing, all their brands. They as an entertainment company.
Because there's no doubt that if Greg, if a group of them came to one of these shows, people would flock there just because for the chance, just for one-on-one interaction with those, that group. I mean, this is how we are about you guys, right? That did the originals. We would love to hear, what Lenny has to say in person. Asking him questions and, hey, where'd this come from, and how'd you come up with this? I think, if there was actually a booth there that was sponsored by, even if they didn't sponsor the show, they just came and did a booth, I think they would have a blast. Just because they would finally get to interact with the fans, with the people that are buying classified.
Yeah.
And I think even and I'm sure you can agree to that. There is something to actually connecting with the people that toy means something to them, Yeah, sometimes it feels weird, like this is a grown-ass man that's this passionate about something, I did like in my spare time in the 80s. Yeah, but
but
that is how fandom works.
That's how fandom works, exactly.
I mean, I'm still passionate about it too, so I get it.
Right.
Even yes, it's weird for me. I mean, I'm a geek. I like toys. I like, I don't know, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But
Chris is asking David
Lenny would love to be there.
He's asking you who
I would love
sculpted
to have him
these
there. I think that
Serpentor
would be
figure.
awesome.
I don't know who sculpted Serpentor. I'm pretty sure Ron Rudat designed him, but I'm not sure who sculpted.
I really thought Serpentor was Markland still doing it then? He was, wasn't he?
Doing
There's so
sculptor?
many of them, I'm not sure.
There was a lot of sculptors working.
Yeah.
And so, David, that's another good question for you and Greg. So, what is? I know it's like picking your favorite child. What is your favorite piece in your collection as far as a toy goes?
Oh wow!
The house is blowing up. You're like, listen, your family's safe. The dog, cats, whatever, everyone's good. You're like, I can grab one toy. I'm stealing this from Legend Series, by the way. Shout out to Tony. And then, Greg, you got some time. You could think about it. Like, where you're like, I've got to take this.
Yeah.
Whether it's a sentimental or you're like, this is the coolest toy I've ever had.
Yeah, don't do that to me. That's just mean.
Stop hurting him.
Damn it. Heck.
That's just mean.
Because there's all the keepsakes and stuff. Like my wife gave me this rock. This is what I would take if like bar none. But if it's a toy, I've said like this Sentinel over my head. I love the HasLab Sentinel. I love Sentinels, period. And I could rebuild my collection around that Sentinel.
Yeah,
it's between that and my original Soundwave, my original G1 Soundwave that I still got. It's tough.
I can see David's dilemma though when you're having.
There we go.
This is one of the ones I would grab probably.
What is
that? Cobra Inceptor. Hell yes.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, this is one of the ones I might.
Shoot.
It's up there.
Oh my god, that's cool.
What year was that?
Just had an
93,
out-of-body
94?
experience, Dave.
Should have been 95.
Was that
Wasn't made.
95?
Should have been.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to come out in '95.
It should have been 6 years ago to bring it back.
Yeah,
I haven't given up on that dream
that
yet.
would be good. I don't know. I'd probably pull artwork off the wall first, though.
Yeah.
No, I get it. That's why I went with toy, because again, of all the stuff, there's artwork, there's sentimental stuff, but it's like if it's a toy, what is it?
No, I mean, like, there's G.I. Joe art around. There's Gem art around.
Oh, Jim?
Yeah.
I just got that Walmart reproduction
on that
for
line?
my wife.
No, my wife worked on Gem.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
that's cool.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So there's, I don't know. That's just a cruel question. You're mean.
Again, that's Legend Series. Okay, he taught me. He did the same thing to me and everyone that was on his Talking Figures show.
Yeah.
Because I did. It made me think. I'm like, oh crap. In fact, I'd seen, I don't know, 10, 20, however many episodes he had Talking Figures at that point. I knew it was coming. I'm like, man, I still, it's tough.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of toys that I love, but like you said, there's a bunch it would cost money, but I could replace.
Right.
Stuff like the Interceptor, I would never be able to replace.
Right.
There's a couple other prototype-y kind of stuff around that I would.
Yeah, it's different when you say, when Zakana says a toy, but for creators, it's more than a toy. That represents sweat and tears and maybe a little piece of your soul.
Right. You're putting you into that toy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like saying, I mean, if you had more than one kid, like, well, which kid would you save? Like, oh, hold on.
No, I know. No, I only have one.
I mean, I know which one I'd say.
You only have one too, you dick.
Oh yeah, you and I need to talk.
By the way,
if you choose Christopher over me, then I'm gonna flip it.
Well, Greg, how about you?
I've got mine would have, and it sounds cheesy as I'll get out, but mine's more of a sentimental thing. Is I have a play school airplane that was a puzzle that had the top fuselage, lower fuselage, middle wing, back wing, and then had a little person that you put into it and turned it and locked it.
Oh,
and it got broken. And so my dad, he was always tooling around in his workshop. The little toe portion of the locking mechanism at the bottom got broken. The plastic broke. And so he sanded it down and he fabricated the toe portion out of aluminum with the screw into it and rebuilt it for me. And my mom had bought me another one. I mean, you could just go back to the store and get it, but I never played with that one. I always played with the one that my dad gave me, and I still have that one to this day. It sits in there. So that's one of a kind. It's kind of like, like Dave was saying, my second one would be, this sounds totally stupid, but it would be a Mattel Heroes in Action figure from 1974 that he had a grease gun, a little, grease gun. That was the first toy I ever remember having when I was a kid, when we lived in St. Louis until we moved here. But that's something I can go on eBay and buy. But the thing that my dad repaired, who he since passed on, that's something I just can't replace. So
it's irreplaceable. Yeah,
it's irreplaceable. So that and it sits in a little curio cabinet in my man cave, and so that would, everything else in that place I could replace, but that one I can't. So I would have to grab that. So,
John, I don't think we've ever.
So it's not an invention thing figure. Huh?
I was saying for John, I don't think I've ever asked John, like, where he's like, hey, yeah, toy, my favorite. Yeah. What would you grab, John?
He'd grab Mikey.
Everything's packed away right now.
I don't care, John. You know what it is, though. Like, you didn't, are your memories all packed away? You can't access them?
Yep. Every one of them.
He's just forgot.
Remember, just like 10 minutes ago, I thought I had more than one kid. Yeah, that's one of those things that'd be really difficult. Like my first instinct would be the Ghost prototype figure, the first shot that we had that was in the mock-up packaging, just because that was, after years of trying and not getting anywhere, that was the first toy that made it all the way to that cycle in production.
No, yeah.
That one, that's a tough one. And I know it sounds silly after the stuff we've talked about, but the plane that we made last year at DFW, just because almost similar reasons, like that was something that Mikey and I got to go to that show, and we got to, that was an adventure for us and a vacation for us. And then to actually get to sit down and do that and share that with him, like that, I know it sounds crazy, like this one thing, this one thing that happened last year really meant that much to me. And because that plane was on the mantle with George's art before I started taking everything down, that's what that meant to me. Like that,
Yeah.
I would grab something like that before I'd grab something, that I spent ridiculous amount of money on.
Yeah.
Again, it's the sentimental stuff. It's the irreplaceable stuff. And
Maybe
Mikey, I know.
Falcon.
Yeah.
Maybe a classified Falcon.
Maybe a classified Falcon.
If it's right there with it, I can grab it with my pinky as I
That's
grab
fine.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike.
20 hours of paint, I'll never get back.
What did you tell Tony? I don't remember. I have to watch that episode again. Unless your answer has changed. Because I mean, that happens too, right? They're like, wait, this toy.
I honestly, I don't remember what I told Tony. I mean, that plane is definitely on mine because it's not replaceable.
Yeah.
It's an irreplaceable thing. It's a memory that would hold the place of many, many things. Just having that one piece. But I'm not much of a collector. Like this little corner of this room is pretty much the collection. This is it. Like most of what I buy is to turn into something else. So really, I would just be losing a shitload, but I would just be losing inventory.
What was that die-cast Mopar you had that was like similar to what your grandfather had?
Oh, that was the Judge. That's
the Judge. Yep.
Judge. Yeah, but I mean that's not. I mean, honestly, if it's past the collection, it's probably his Bible is probably what I would grab.
Yeah.
His Bible and that plane. Like those are things that they're just that's past collecting. That's past.
We all end up like Steve Martin in The Jerk. He's leaving. He's like, I just need this phone. And that's all.
Yeah,
I
what's
need.
going to happen is I'm going to have an arms full of crap, and I'm going to die in the fire. That's what
microphone and this phone, and that's all I need.
I'm going to be digging through one of these
like the
boxes
dog
trying
and
to
the
find
magazine.
something and just lose it all.
That's it. That's all I need.
Yeah.
That's
So
a good
I was looking for who designed Serpentor out of Dan's books here. It's volume 9, and it has I think there's 6 pages of Serpentor stuff, but none in here say who sculpted it. It shows the original sculpt. Ron definitely designed it, and Guy did the chariot, but I don't see anywhere in here who Serpentor himself was sculpted by.
Probably Bob the filter guy again.
Damn it, Bob.
No
one half the battle, and he sculpted Serpentor.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had lots of sculptors on the outside. So it could have been any of them, and yeah, they don't get credit.
Oh, as far as like contract work, where you're
Yeah. I mean, there were some on the inside, but a lot of it was managing outside people and then fixing what was wrong after it came back in.
I know that Declassified years ago they had a little looked like a dog tag that was a USB drive.
Oh, I forgot.
And on that drive, they have this entire video that I believe it was a Hasbro video about sculpting and using combinations of wax and clay, and it was they talked to at least 3 different sculptors that I'd never heard of, so I knew that some of that stuff was just hired out. And they even talked about that, like somebody would do this, like maybe a component or something, and then somebody else would do it, like, because they were all working off of Ron's turnarounds. So it was everybody, that it would be possible that you had something that 2 different people actually laid hands on.
That wouldn't surprise me with Serpentor, because nothing else ever looked like that. Nothing else was ever scaled. Very few figures had washes. That's one of the few things that Serpentor has that most don't.
I don't even think I knew that.
That's an interesting question. We'll have to ask Dan. We would have asked him tonight, but he's on vacation. So evidently they don't have Wi-Fi where he's at.
Cobra Commander took him out, remember?
Yeah.
I'm going to totally roast Dan tonight because he's not here.
Yeah, I think I invited him to be on 3POA on Saturday too, and he was like, "Oh, I can't do that one either." I'm like, "Dan, you're useless to me."
Useless.
You don't do anything I want to do.
He doesn't like using the phone.
You don't do anything, Dan.
Salt water.
Was it this one?
Hey, there it
Look at
is.
that.
That's the one.
I'll have to go back and look at it.
Oh,
I'm
that's
pretty sure that's the
cool.
one that had that video on it.
Wasn't that 2018? Wasn't that the last Joe Con?
Might have been.
Yeah,
It
Chattanooga.
was because that's when I met
Chattanooga?
Dave
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. I thought that was all the same show.
with my own interceptor.
That's right.
That is cool.
Thick one. The thick one.
The way too big one, but yeah.
Well, that's what I
I'll
like
take
to
another
get.
shot at it one of these days.
Being able to go to that show and just the history behind everything is just. If guys, if you're gonna pick a show, I mean, again, I'm kind of biased because this was my first toy show ever in my lifetime, and it was awesome.
Really cool.
It's a good show. It's a good show.
You've gone back
David,
to
I do
3
have a
t-shirts
question
now.
for you that's kind of there you go. Ooh, moving up in the world.
Get some little booties.
Oh, some tall socks.
If there's booties, I hope they have the little points on the end of them.
Yes. Yes.
Where are you going with this, John?
I like it. David, I did have a question for you. that
Albino pixie.
I'm curious about. Were any of you guys aware of the Palatoy Action Force, like what they were doing overseas?
Oh, good question.
Yeah. We knew what they were doing. We saw it. We got to play with it.
Really? That's cool.
For the most part, they were using our stuff.
Right.
At least
Were you? Did you guys know anything about it like before though that agreement happened? Like when they were doing their 5 POA figures with the like the Robo Skull and that kind of stuff? Did you guys was that even like something that was talked about or anything? Was it
not? I mean, design wise, not talked about.
Yeah.
We didn't influence any of it.
Yeah.
They got to do what they wanted to do.
You guys didn't have to coordinate
we got
between
to
each
see the
other.
stuff.
That's wild.
Interesting.
Yeah.
By the way, the Robo Skull, like no one like North America said, you know what? We should do that. We should take a TIE fighter from hell.
Dave, have you seen that new Robo Skull that Skeletron did?
No.
I think you'll get to see it at the show this year. You'll get to see it at DFW. That is an amazing toy.
That is my
something being
favorite
done by an
toy.
independent. It's incredible.
Like I can
I'm
grab
hoping to
stuff.
come home with one.
Yeah,
I'm not just saying that because my name's on the box. I'm saying that because it is genuinely a cool. I did not have anything to do with the Robo Skull. I did work for the pilot, the O-ring pilot for it. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
That's the first. Again, that's my favorite toy. I can replace it, so that's not like I'm gonna grab that first. But that's the first toy that I bought, and when I opened it, I had adulthood wonder. Like it was like, this is metal AF. Like this is the coolest toy I have ever had up until this point in my life.
Now, Zach, you don't have one of the 4 you have close to you.
I only have 3 of them that my wife heard me tell somebody about that. She's like, you bought what?
You
How
won
many?
all of those though. You
won 2 of them. I
In an
think.
auction. It was in an auction.
You don't say that. That's the unsaid part. You just say, "Well, I won these."
I won these.
You know, I want to. We'll turn to a Skeletron video, but the fact that
That's later this summer. We're not doing that yet.
Shout out to Ben.
Later this summer.
Please be on our show, Ben. The fact that you could take this toy and then you could take the seat out and you could scale it for 1/12 or 1/18. Chad's talked about it with the HasLab with the Hiss. And if they could have just simply changed it out for like a mega Hiss for the O-rings, God, I think that's a huge miss because I mean there's a place for both of these scales.
Yeah, well, I mean, like this is the inside of that Hiss. Like there could clearly be 2 seats there. Like
Right.
2 seats definitely fit there.
Almost looks like it was made for that.
Right.
And was it somebody gave Chad the recipe, right? It was like a Fortnite race car or something. Everything just like pops out, plugs in.
Oh yeah, the conversion. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, why wouldn't you do that? And you would have sold probably even more hisses at that point. I probably called it a tank at some point during this whole thing, but I don't care.
You will draw fat tire.
I'm going to do that anyway. I'm going to be with him on his pregame Sunday, and then he may or may not deem me worthy, and I'll be on with Scuba and Embargo on the main show. We'll see.
There you go.
I know everyone's really excited about me being on yet another toy show this week.
You going to be on 3POA on Saturday?
No, I was on Wednesday with Ryan.
Okay.
So
it's like it's you again.
It's me. Well, I love when someone in like KMAC will constantly, oh, you're on this stream too. I'm like, yeah, but you're watching this stream, so you're in the chat. You're in all the streams too, buddy.
Yeah, I remember doing Chad's thing, and then I went on to somebody else's that was like a 12-inch figure one. It was I forget who it was, and Chad was on that one. I'm like, what the hell are you doing on a 12-inch podcast?
Was it?
He was
it
asking
Paul
himself
Knapp?
the same thing.
Yeah, Paul Knapp. It was on
Was it
Paul
Paul
Knapp's
Knapp?
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Nap, yeah.
I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, I can't get rid of you. You're like a bad hickey.
He's a dingleberry.
Whoa!
Swings
Disavow.
on.
Disavow.
Ah,
Chad, I love you. I'm
We
glad you
love
lost
community
30.
dingleberry.
I'm glad you lost
We
30
love-
pounds, Chad. You're
We
not
love
as
you.
funny as when you were fat, but you know, again, there's pros and cons to losing weight.
Yeah, I liked it when he called everybody Bantha Poodoo back in the 30 pounds days, you know.
The voodoo.
Bantha Poodoo. Yeah, Star Wars humor showing through.
Oh, David,
All right.
I'll say this. We're probably winding down, but what is a toy line, David, that you wanted to work on and you never got to? Or was there one you're like, no, I got to work on everything. I lived the dream life.
Major Matt Mason was one of my favorite toys growing up.
Major, what was it again?
Major Matt Mason,
Yes,
space toy
from Mattel.
from Mattel. I actually looked up and found and started to register the name for G.I. Joe to use a Major Matt Mason, and I was going to design it after the original, only
Wow.
3 3/4.
Cool.
Legal wanted me to stop because they thought it'd piss somebody off, but I just thought it'd be really cool to do.
This right here?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Those guys. They
Interesting.
had some really cool vehicles too.
Really cool vehicles.
Yeah,
I wanted to
Moonwalker.
I wanted to reintroduce Major Matt Mason. Then I started to work at Mattel, and again I wanted to reintroduce Major Matt Mason. Just
Do
didn't
more modernized and updated version.
yeah.
Let's do it now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, that thing is bonkers right there, man.
They had a bunch of really cool vehicles.
Yeah, you could crawl that thing right up the refrigerator. It was awesome.
Yep.
Oh, it was motorized too.
That's right.
Oh yeah, had a motorized rope thing with a hook on it.
Yeah. And then and I worked on I was director of Matchbox for Tyco and Mattel, but I would have preferred to be Hot Wheels.
Again, if you had to pick, right?
If you had to pick.
Martians and everything. That's rad.
Yeah. That was during the space race, that was fun. I'm older than you guys.
Very cool.
Sorry.
Which, by the way, that's another reason we're best friends, because anyone older than me, right on.
There you go. But kid at heart, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm still making stuff.
Sure.
You know what's funny, Dave, about that Major Matt Mason? My two brothers, they're 11 and 13 years older than me, so I got their Major Matt Mason hand-me-downs. And so I had the moon base, and I had the walker, and I had my figures. And I remember that the one of the helmets, the visor broke or whatever. So my mom helped me write a letter to Mattel asking if by chance they had any of the parts. And they wrote me a letter back. It was some lady, and she wrote me back and she said, well, unfortunately, the series ended in 69 or 70, and they no longer have any inventory. but we really appreciate, you reaching out to us and good luck in my endeavors. And I still have that letter to this day, because it was actually
cool.
typed out and written, and you could see, you could tell it was a real legit thing. And I've always wondered if somebody was ever going to pursue that, because I know that Mattel teased it a couple of years ago, and then Bob Zemeckis and Tom Hanks were playing around with it making it into a movie.
Right.
And you're right. Yeah. A lot of the concepts for the very first year were stuff that was based upon concepts that NASA was playing around with. And it was just a phenomenal series.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was amazing. Fun. Yeah. So that'd have been cool if you gotten to pull that one off.
Yeah. It would have been, would have pissed off Mattel. And I would.
Yeah.
And you're okay with that?
You're okay with that.
Just a bit. Nothing like taking their property and integrating the G.I. Joe. Yeah.
Speaking of Bobby Valla.
Speaking of Bobby Valla.
Yeah.
You'd have just done it 30 years earlier.
That's right.
I'm done.
All right.
I'm done.
All right.
I'm done. I'm tired.
Let's wrap it up. Let's let these guys go.
I'll see you guys in Dallas.
Yes, sir.
So anything else, David? You got anything else? Any other projects we need to know about?
No, I'm just vacuum forming a bunch of parts for the show, and looking forward to being there.
Awesome.
Same here.
All right.
I'll say, Greg, you want to plug your show that we've been plugging?
Yeah.
Well, talk about the podcast. You're going to be on 3POA Saturday.
Yeah, I'll be on 3PO Saturday. Probably answer the same questions that I answered today. Nothing new. Like I said, we talked about everything. I really wanted to, and I'm glad Dave came on, because I really wanted us to talk about the build a vehicle, because it's a really great part of the show. And kudos to Dave for being involved, and kudos to John for getting involved this year. Because I think it's kind of like I don't know how to put it into words. It's just a really fun experience, and just to learn a lot and come out with something that you're going to go home with at the end of the night. So definitely, we'd love to see more people out for it and have fun with it. So.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
I'm sorry, I'm out of my raw juice, man. So
we're winding down.
Full soldiers running out of steam here.
Yeah, I'll say I've got going on, man. I got Yojo Jerk Monday, doing some rumbling ranting with Papa Jerk, and then I don't know, probably something else after that. We're gonna another figure it out. Oh, then Mikey and I got to plan out for Thursday. I got an idea. Don't let me forget, Mikey.
Okay.
Oh, he won't.
That's all I got.
Sounds good. All right. Well, catch me and Dad Sunday. We'll do a couple of KUKs to see where we're at with the Spaceman kit. Probably talk a little bit more about DFW. Wednesday, catch me on the JMK Custom Works Live. We'll continue our work on Dragonsky. And appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Appreciate our special guests, Dad, Greg. Appreciate you guys. David, wouldn't have ever imagined you being here. This is pretty awesome for me. So thank you very, very much for being here. Truly, truly appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. So guys, have a good night. Until we see you. Them Figure It Out boys are at it again. Y'all comment below and be sure to like, share, and subscribe Mikey and Zakainen's YouTube, IG, and Facebook accounts. We'll see y'all next week.
Hit it. I'm gonna get real weird with it.
Do it. Do it.
Let him watch. Let him watch.
On TV, some kind of bad boy or something?
Yep, I'm a bad boy.
Oh.
I don't care about it.
Good for you, man. Good for you. Good for you.
I'm not even a real doctor.
That is bad.
I killed a man.
You what?
So I got that going.
Doctor?
Doctor?
Doctor.
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 Doctor?
Doctor.
Doctor?
Doctor.
Doctor.
Will the congregation please rise?
How much weight do you think I could bench press?
What are you talking about?
You're an idiot. That is correct. Jesus Christ!
Eat my short.
That is one big pilot.
I eat pieces of like you for breakfast.
Is there anything else you want to tell me?
Put in front of my
Eat
If I wasn't practicing...
You eat asshole? No. Never give up. Never surrender.
yourself.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're tearing me apart.
I'm David Bowie.
Thank you. Thank you.